place of love, where the current runs deep, baptized in the one, where there's no separation. The light is all we see. Honoring our differences, our love will set us free. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Oh, you rock my soul. Oh, you rock my soul. Those words by Jamie Lula were written in response to his own cry for spiritual, emotional, and physical healing. I'm wondering, is there anyone here today who wants a healing?
Amen.
Amen. Really? Wow. Let's try that again. Is there anyone here today who wants a healing?
Yes!
If you don't need a healing, you haven't turned on the news. You haven't looked at Facebook, and you haven't been around my relatives. I believe that now, more than ever in our lives, we all need a healing. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, healing for ourselves, healing for others, healing for our nation, healing for humanity. So the good news is you are at the right place at exactly the right time. Because this, my friends, is our summer of healing. Woo-hoo! Okay. Our summer series is based on the Unity publication, Return to Wholeness, Living Healed, Whole, and Healthy. Some of you that were here the very first Sunday got that book, and there may be some others laying around. If you would like to have a Return to Wholeness book, I'll see what I can do to find one for you. This booklet is based on Unity's first mission and vision that was written in 1889 as a covenant between Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore made a covenant with God to share the universal principles of healing with others. And the truth that our mind, the thoughts we think, has the power to influence our body. Those principles are what we're going to be studying this summer. And that very first principle is that there is only one true source of our healing. And that source is God. Presence, universal intelligence, whatever you call that power and that presence that created us. Master teacher Robert Brumet wrote in The Quest for Wholeness, the primary truth, the foundation of all healing, is the realization of our innate oneness with God, our source and our true nature. That was the foundation upon which Myrtle Fillmore became healed. And it is the foundation upon which Unity was built. Our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, had always been ill. Since childhood up until her early 40s, she had suffered a variety of illnesses. In fact, she wrote in one of her letters to a friend, "I had all the ills of mind and body that I could bear." I'm hearing Facebook in my All right, excuse me while I turn our Facebook off. We were so good we played again. Technology is only good when it works. All right.
I thought those were angels.
The angels singing in the background.
Say hi.
The healing angels. So Myrtle had been told since she was very little by her parents that her father's family also had all of these illnesses. And so therefore she had inherited all of these problems that she was having, and she should basically just suck it up and get used to the idea that she was just going to be sick. And that's all there was to it. Physicians had kind of concurred with her family and said, well, you know, you got what you got, and there's not anything we can do for you, and sorry, you're just going to have to suffer. And then in 1886, a friend of hers suggested that she go hear a metaphysician. His name was Dr. E.B. Weeks. And she went to his lecture, and while she was at his lecture, she heard something she could hold on to. She heard that the mind has power over the body. And that by using affirmations, by changing her thoughts, she could heal. And she walked out of that lecture with an affirmation that all good unitics know by heart. So if you want to be a good unitic, remember this. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit illness. I'm a child of God, and I therefore do not inherit illness. In her books and her letters, she writes about how she released and let go of the old belief that she had inherited her father's family's illnesses. She began instead to focus her thoughts on the realization that there was only one true source of her healing, and that was the recognition that she and God were one. And because of this oneness, she did not inherit illness. That in fact, what her divine inheritance was wholeness. That her natural state of being was health. And that was a part of who she was. Now, I want you to know that Myrtle Fillmore didn't go home, say that affirmation 3 times, click her heels, and voila! She was healed. In fact, it didn't take days or months. It actually took years before she was healed. This is where oftentimes we fall short. We forget that the illnesses that are manifesting in our bodies, whatever they are, didn't usually start overnight. They are a result of habitual behaviors. They are a result of habitual thoughts. The more we think it, the more we believe it, the more it is made manifest. And healing works the same way. And so Myrtle developed a discipline of prayer and meditation. Now, for all of you that discipline is a trigger word, take a breath with me. We're not talking about discipline as in punishment. We are talking about discipline as training and developing something through practice and exercise. So Myrtle Fillmore began to train her mind to think differently, in good faith, knowing that where your mind goes, your body will eventually follow. And one of her practices was to talk to her cells. So every day she would talk to her cells with words of power and words of strength. until little by little changes began to happen. And she says that when she became discouraged, when her body wasn't moving fast enough, when things weren't happening fast enough, sound familiar? That instead of getting frustrated, instead of saying, oh, this is a bunch of baloney, that Reverend Glenda, she don't know what she's talking about. She ain't living my life. She ain't got my problems. Instead, she turned to God. She turned to Source, knowing that if she could just hang in there one more day, if she could just keep her mind focused on the good in her life, that good would follow. Now, we give Charles Fillmore a hard way to go, some of us, because he was like most men. They don't like to ask for directions. I apologize, men. I know some of you are very good at asking for directions. But what happened was he saw Myrtle starting to get better. And as she started to get better, he thought, well, maybe there's something to this. And so then he began to also put those practices into place. And he too experienced a healing. And together they made a commitment then to share it with this. This, my friends, is our unity legacy. This is what unity is truly about. Understanding that we are one. One with each other, one with divine intelligence, that we are one. And that in that oneness, there is not anything we can't overcome. That we are always healing. Because you see, our divine inheritance is wholeness. We came here pre-installed with a blueprint to be whole and to be holy. It's in us. That is our natural state of being, is to be whole, to be healed, to recognize our very own holiness. Now, the first step is that we have to consciously and continuously align ourselves with that state of being. It can't be made manifest if we don't take time to connect. If we don't take time to align our consciousness with the life that we truly are. If we don't take the time, the discipline, to allow ourselves to feel the renewal that is constantly going on, to connect and feel the power that is within us, the power that heals us, that harmonizes us, the power that strengthens us and moves us. So it's really pretty easy. All you got to do is align consciously and continuously. Sounds pretty easy, right? Yeah. Probably simple. Maybe not so easy. So the good news again is that we are going to spend the rest of the summer with some help from some Unity friends learning how to do that. Now, the thing about discipline, right, is it's training and developing through practice and exercise. So if you do absolutely nothing with the affirmation that you just learned, then don't come back to me next week and say, I had this hurt knee, and I said that affirmation on Sunday, and I thought about it on Monday, and on Tuesday my knee was still hurting. Myrtle Fillmore said, Myrtle Fillmore wrote, persistency in truth brings healing. Persistency in truth brings healing. And as part of our One Humanity mini stories, this month we're going to be featuring stories of healing. And our first story in this series is from Kat Rumschlag. So I turn things over to her.